in classrooms, on posters, in textbooks, and hanging from the ceilings of science museums. The solar system once appeared in a familiar order. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and at the distant edge, Pluto. For generations, that ninth position felt permanent. The map looked complete. The planets seemed counted. The story appeared finished. And yet, one of the strangest events in modern science would begin with a simple contradiction. How can a planet stop being a planet when nothing about it actually changed? Pluto did not shrink. It did not break apart. It did not leave its orbit. The same frozen world that existed before remained exactly where it had always been afterward. What disappeared was not Pluto. What disappeared was certainty. Far beyond Neptune, sunlight fades into a dim glow. Pluto circles there in darkness, traveling through a region so distant that, for much of the 20th century, it seemed almost alone. That isolation helped define its identity. Pluto was unusual, smaller than the other planets, stranger in its orbit, difficult to compare with the worlds closer to the Sun. But unusual is not the same as impossible. So the solar system absorbed the exception. The classroom diagram remained unchanged. 9 planets, a settled reality. If Pluto had always been a planet, what could possibly threaten that status? The answer arrived from the same darkness Pluto called home. As telescopes improved, astronomers began detecting faint points of light beyond Neptune. Tiny worlds, icy bodies, objects drifting through a vast region now known as the Kuiper Belt. At first, each discovery looked like a curiosity. Then another appeared. And another? Maps of the solar system began stretching farther outward. The empty edge no longer looked empty. The familiar diagram remained intact, but something subtle had changed. Pluto was no longer alone. On the old map, Pluto had looked like a lonely outpost. On the new map, it looked increasingly like a neighbor. The difference mattered, because every new object weakened the idea that Pluto was a unique exception. The solar system itself had not changed. Humanity's view of it had. As years passed, distant worlds continued to accumulate. Some were small, some were surprisingly substantial. Together, they transformed the outer solar system from a blank frontier into a crowded population. The pressure was not dramatic. No collision occurred. No discovery overturned physics. Instead, an explanation slowly stopped working. If Pluto belonged to a category called planet, what exactly separated it from these newly discovered neighbors? The question lingered at the edge of astronomy. Then one object made it impossible to ignore. In the early years of the 21st century, astronomers identified another distant world. Its name was Eris. Seen through telescopes, Eris appeared remarkably familiar. A frozen body orbiting far beyond Neptune. A world sharing many characteristics with Pluto. For a moment, the discovery seemed to offer an easy answer. If Pluto was a planet, perhaps Eris should become one too. Simple. Add another planet. Update the charts. Continue. But the solution created a new problem, because Eris was unlikely to be the last discovery. The farther astronomers looked, the more distant objects they found. If Pluto and Eris were both planets, how many more planets might soon follow? 10, 12, 20. The old 9-planet model suddenly looked unstable. Not because Pluto had changed, because reality had expanded around it. The contradiction became impossible to avoid. Pluto looked increasingly similar to objects that were not being called planets. Yet many people still saw Pluto as unquestionably one. The solar system stood at a fork in the road. One path kept Pluto exactly where it was. But that path risked expanding the planet count again and again as new discoveries arrived.
Even Pluto and Eris.
The other path preserved a smaller planetary category, but only by changing the definition itself.
Our solar system map
On one side stood tradition. On the other stood a growing population of worlds that no longer fit neatly into existing categories. The debate was never really about Pluto alone. It was about whether the map still matched reality. For decades, the traditional diagram had survived because nobody had seriously tested its boundaries. Now, those boundaries were visible, and they were beginning to fail. In 2006, astronomers gathered under the International Astronomical Union to establish a formal definition of what a planet actually is. For much of history, the word had existed without precise scientific requirements. Now precision became unavoidable. A planet, the new definition stated, must orbit the Sun. It must be massive enough for its gravity to pull itself into a roughly round shape. And it must have cleared its orbital neighborhood, becoming the dominant object in its region of space. The definition finally created a measurable boundary, and suddenly Pluto could be tested against it. The first condition: Pluto passed. The second: Pluto passed. The third: Pluto failed. Beyond Neptune. Pluto shares its region with countless other icy bodies. It is not the overwhelmingly dominant object in its neighborhood. The result was immediate. Pluto no longer fit the newly defined category of planet. Instead, it entered a different category: dwarf planet. The headlines often describe the moment as a demotion. It felt that way to many people. A beloved member of the solar system's family portrait had lost its place. The familiar 9-planet diagram began disappearing from classrooms. New illustrations appeared. 8 planets. Beyond Neptune. A collection of dwarf planets. A different map. A different framework. Yet Pluto itself remained unchanged. The same mountains of ice. The same frozen plains. The same distant orbit. The same world. That is what makes the story so unusual. The object never transformed. The meaning attached to it did. What was actually lost was not a planet. It was an explanation. The old model had worked when Pluto appeared alone. It stopped working when Pluto became one member of a much larger population. The discovery of new worlds did not make Pluto less real. It made the solar system larger than the categories built to describe it. Return now to that classroom diagram. The neat row of 9 planets. The image once represented certainty. A complete map. A finished understanding. Today, that same image means something different. It is not a reminder that scientists took Pluto away. It is a reminder that knowledge is provisional. Reality remains what it is. The map changes around it, and far beyond Neptune. Pluto continues its silent journey through the darkness, exactly as it did before. The planet that lost its status never changed at all. Humanity simply discovered that the solar system was bigger than the definition it once trusted.